Hi, Clara White Designs here with another instructive video. This time we're going to do direct painting. Now, I've already prepared my piece. The design is already drawn and taped to the back of my screen. And the silk scarf has been pinned to the screen using the Chinese three-pronged hooks and steel nails or thumbtacks, and you can see the design through the silk. Now with the direct painting, I'm literally painting directly onto the silk scarf. I've prepared the colors I'm going to use. I have my legend here and the sumi brushes that I'm going to be using ready. Now I'm going to shake each bottle thoroughly and begin. So now we've all shaken up. My camera person is going to move to the other side of the screen. I have my paper towel in this hand, and off we go. This is very fast, no spritzing. I'm just following the design. And what you're also trying to do, move the paint or the dye in a painterly manner. Yes, you see the little sprinklings, all of that will happen. Any excess, you try and clean up. You know it's going to run. This one is called Tamran Dezan. And yes, what that word sounds like, tamarind. So these are images of tamarind pods in the design. Now, as usual, you're working as quickly as possible. And I'm trying to move in a painterly manner. Spread the paint along. Anytime you go along the hem, beware the paint will travel along the hem. It's a capillary action. It moves from one fiber to the next. See how I'm moving any excess paint to the other end of the motif. So I'm loosely following the design underneath. Now we're gonna do the leaves. Now these are gonna be exaggerated. Now, tamarind leaves are quite small, but because we're doing this particular technique, I'm painting them even bigger than they naturally are. Now, as you can see, this kind of technique, one has to be quite confident in your brush strokes. Now we have the border treatment. And these are colors that you are not having seen in the design. Because as usual, you must plan the colors that you're going to be using beforehand. Now what I'm going to attempt to do at this point, I should hold on a minute. My step. Will be the background. So as you can see, there's no need to go all the way up to the color, as the paint is going to move through the via the capillary action to the area. And once it hits the other color, it's going to stop. So all this is being done very quickly. Now you may remember from the first workshop video when I was explaining how to press down with your brush when you're trying to apply a lot of paint, and as well as using the point of your brush. Press down and come back and use the point just to so you can see the design has formed loosely on the silk. I'm doing a lot of the painting with the tip of my brush because of the tiny areas. The reason why I'm going back into those areas with a lot of paint is so that puddling does not occur. Puddling sometimes create this kind of shadowing here that you can see. One more time, this here is going to cause puddling. So to prevent that, in these areas, I go back in and pick up the excess with my brush. Let me see if I can do it here for you. So this little section here has a lot of paint, so I push it along with my brush. Because of the nature of the tamarind, that ghosting frame there that you can see actually shows the line of the tamarind itself, the pod. So when I go back to do the texture work or the accent work, I will have something to follow. So the question here now, is what should we paint the ends of the piece? Well, I'm gonna go for blue, which is really turquoise that I'm using. So there's no spritzing, there's no silk salt. Whoops, this one. Okay. So now that the piece is finished, we are going to, this is just the first layer of color. We're going to let it dry, and then we're going to come back and put in our overpainting or detail work. So see you then. So now we're back. So now the whole scarf is dry, and we're going to do overpainting detail work, which could consist of striae, or just outlining certain images on the piece, or sometimes, depending on the piece, I would do stippling, which are just tiny dots. I'm going to be using the striae, just outlining certain parts of the tamarind. And I'm using, for this work, a synthetic brush. If I wanted to, I could go and do some, follow the line at this point. As you see, I can still see the design through the silk. So I'm following those lines of detail. See how I'm also using those ghosting lines here to help me with my extra added line work, detail of the tamarind pods. Also considered shadow work. Do some shadow work on the leaves. It's not necessary to do all of the leaves. Good knowledge of shadow, light and shadow also helps this. So I'm using this as if the light is coming from this direction, so most of my shadow work is on the underside. Now it is a design, So at different points of the design, I'm going to be changing the direction. Another thing, having a good idea as to how leaves grow also helps with your detail work. So it's not always necessary to do all of the leaves. So you basically step back and you check to see if there are any areas where you want to put a little more emphasis. Remember, it's wearable art, so there's a balance that you're looking for in your creations. So now I'm on to a little texture work in the border. Nothing much. As simple as that. Bit of a dental type. And there you have it. Just enough detail to create your images. So as I said before, if you wanted to, if I decided to do a further textural quality of stippling, I would go in and I'll just show you on, I usually use my stippling on the petals of flowers, but the stippling would actually look like these small dots, and they're arranged if you want them to work in a dark, you have them close together or far apart. So that's the stippling technique. So I do hope this helps, and I do hope that you practice and try this out. Don't forget to send me a comment, like, subscribe. Any questions I would love to answer. There have been some people who did ask about if I use No Flow. No Flow is a type of primer that prevents a lot of, it prepares your silk. So before you even begin painting, you paint this No Flow primer on your silk, and that prevents a lot of the movement of the dye. I don't like to use that because I enjoy the movement of the dye and how they move into each other. That kind of movement and creativity is what I enjoy, and it pushes me to do more. So I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram at Clara Designs Art.